I was out west and I was meeting with a couple that thought that they were building a business that was worth $6-7 million. And frankly, they needed it to be worth that. And we got referred in there by a national accounting partner who had access to all of their data and had never really helped them understand what it actually was saying. And the wife cried and she said, how can it only be worth 1.7 million? Like literally $5 million less than what they needed it to be. She wasn't mad at me. She wasn't mad at our company and the way that we'd kind of analyzed the business. She said, how come everyone that had access to this didn't tell us? And the terrible answer was, well, you didn't ask. And so what I started that forever, like that is an indelible kind of image in my mind of saying there are, in North America alone, there's 35 million SMBs.
Yep.
They are the lifeblood of our respective economies.
Welcome to AFO Wealth Management Forward, a podcast powered by Arrowroot Family Office that's at the intersection of accounting, wealth management, behavioral finance, technology, and entrepreneurship. We help accounting firms and financial advisors grow their practice by going beyond the numbers as we learn from industry leaders and subject matter experts to discover the secret to their success. A podcast that highlights everything from the transformative power of AI to embracing the human-first approach of behavioral finance to help you understand the psychological and emotional relationships to money and meaning. Here is your host, Rory Henry, director at Arrowroot Family Office and author of Holistic Guide to Wealth Management.
All right. Hello, everyone. I have another phenomenal guest joining me today. He has over 11 years experience in the M&A space. He's now the CEO of Interval, which is a leader in automated discovery. They're helping accounting firms, financial institutions, and wealth advisors identify revenue generating opportunities that's hidden in accounting data and financial statements. He's really at the intersection of what we always talk about of the accounting and wealth world. So excited to have him join us today. So without further ado, let me introduce our guests. Trevor Greenway. Trevor, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Yeah, buddy. I know we're of like mind here, and I want to dive into a couple different concepts. The M&A space, obviously, what's going on in the accounting world, the capacity issue, and then how you all are using technology and AI really to help firms out there grow their practice. But before we kind of get into all that stuff, why don't you start out and give our audience a little bit of background and what led you to found Interval?
I tell people I'm an entrepreneur by accident, and myself and my co-founder, we actually founded an M&A firm that focused predominantly on the kind of the small to mid market. So basically, the space of the market that is wholly reliant on the ultimate liquidity that they need to create, but the one that's often left to their own devices because you can't get enough fees out of them. So you think a lot of those businesses that are worth anywhere between, a few $100,000 all the way up to maybe 30, 40, 50 million, where your corporate finance teams aren't really getting out of bed for them. They're the ones that are relying on it for, the transfer of wealth and ultimately, setting up their family for future events. And so we kind of formed an M&A firm that focused, predominantly on that area. And it was over that experience of over a decade, we formed a number of referral relationships. We used to get referrals from banks, accounting firms, wealth advisors, basically people that all benefited and had a vested interest from the future liquidity event or post-economic event that is going to occur for business owners. And they said, well, we don't have the time, wherewithal, bandwidth to ultimately help them. So let's send them to somebody that is not just going to be transactional, that's actually going to help them prep for and ultimately execute upon that exit. And so we went national really quickly. Like we originated out of Canada. I'm sure I talk funny to some people right now, so I'm sure they'll hear that. And we went national very quickly, but it was all a referral model, right? They used to refer us business. They would be our customer. We were effectively a services business. And we said, well,
it's transactional nature, right? Yeah.
Right. And so, and you're a consultancy, you're helping people ultimately, take stock of where they are relative to their business goals and their financial goals. And we realized very quickly, well, there might be a better way to do this. Maybe we can democratize access to this diagnostic that we were doing at the onset of every engagement. We were helping business owners understand, first of all, what are you worth? Secondly, how are you performing relative to your peers? And thirdly, how does that align to your financial goals? And before we would ever take on an M&A mandate, we'd have to make sure that all those things aligned. And we were often the bearers of bad news. We were telling people that their businesses were the fraction of what they thought it was worth, or more importantly, what they needed it to be worth.
Yeah. Well, I saw that stat that you had on your site that 98% of business owners don't know the current valuation of their business. I knew it was high, but I didn't realize it was that high.
It's It shouldn't be totally stunning. Obviously, we knew it was high as well. There's been a number of studies in the space. And I think what's most interesting about it is that I would argue that not knowing at all is probably better than guessing and being wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Because not knowing at all, at least you're kind of like, you're pretty ambiguous in saying, well, you know what, I'm just going to try and build value and one day
That's
I'll
the
poke
back
my
burner.
head up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's at least like their ignorance is bliss in that, in that instance. But I think that the bigger danger is if you make decisions thinking it's worth either much more or much less than it actually is, because then what you're doing is that inference of like this kind of number you've got in your head is that you're either going to make more aggressive or more conservative decisions based on that. And if you were wrong, like the chasm just gets bigger.
Yeah. Let's talk about then how you are uncovering those opportunities and helping business owners obviously know the value of their business, but also helping them find ways to actually grow their revenue. So let's give a for example for our audience here.
Yeah, so if you think about a wealth management firm or an accounting firm, doesn't matter. So let's think of the wealth use case effectively, where
Are you an accountant looking to generate more revenue and secure your future success as automation and artificial intelligence revolutionize the accounting profession? If so, contact us at AFO Wealth Management Forward. We specialize in helping accountants and advisors just like you build a custom brand to pinpoint your optimal clientele, generate highly qualified leads through our data-driven digital marketing, and execute wealth management growth services to bring more value to your firm and your client's life. Our strategic approach to branding, marketing, and wealth management is carefully tailored to attract ideal clients, increase customer retention rates, and cultivate lasting relationships with clients across generations. Visit wealthmanagementforward.com to book your free consultation to find out how you can elevate your practice.
Typically what gets done is, when there's a financial plan that gets undertaken, which takes into consideration, obviously the personal assets, but then the business assets as well. Typically, those are all predicated on actual factual knowledge of here are my holdings in various areas. The one area that is not factual that we typically then just let the business owner tell us is the value of the business.
Yeah.
But statistics show that number is 85% of their future wealth. So the one number that's wrong is the one that makes up 85% of the number.
It's the majority, yeah.
Right. So it's that's ultimately how we're helping these firms better understand. One, let's educate business owners. And I can prove the business owners that are attached to our platform grow 29% year over year in terms of enterprise value. Yeah. Why? Because they're getting feedback on what's actually driving value in their business. They're making decisions 365 days a year, and those decisions are having an impact on what we call kind of the beacon of business health, which is value. And so if you're driving value and you're good or weak in certain areas, you deserve to know that so you can recalibrate. And so they build better businesses, all the while their advisor then can have an active seat at the table and be proactive around, well, how can I help you achieve these goals? Can I mitigate risk through insurance products? Can I help you extract excess working capital that might be sitting on the balance sheet? I have an active role in wealth creation and wealth protection. So we might as well unlock this number that is 85% of the value, where they can both build value together and mitigate risk along the way.
Yeah. This is what I talk about with the model that I wrote about in the book, and we speak about on the show, is really the accounting firm is that financial first responder. They're the ones that are early on that have the data, they have these figures, and then you're able to bring in the wealth advisory piece to really talk about the wealth management, talk about the investment advisory, do the personal financial planning. But really, for those in our audience that are accounting professionals, it's those ones that really can unlock the other professional services to really provide that holistic offering to clients.
So we've always viewed this concept, and I have an old hand drawing of this, before this became anything, was this concept of this wheel and spoke model, where the center of the wheel is the business owner, and they're creating data every day. And that data means different things to different people. And whether it's the accountant, whether it's the wealth advisor, whether it's the bank, they all have a vested interest in that performance, albeit it's through a slightly different lens. And so that data that's getting produced by the accountant, and the better the data, the better the outcome. So if it's clean, we're understanding, we're getting more of a feedback loop, it means something to the accountant. It might be tax planning, it might be CAS, it might be, advisory services, high margin work. Great, let's facilitate that. Let's let the data's telling a story. Let's synthesize it, summarize it, and drop it off at the door of the individual that can add value to that relationship. But they're all orbiting the business owner, and they all bring value in different ways. But as you and I chatted about off air, this is a situation where we've got a labor shortage. We've got
Yeah.
fewer people entering the profession. We've got more business owners than we've ever had. So we have to figure out ways to bridge that gap and extract that information, analyze it, and drop it off so that the humans can do more of what the humans can do,
Right.
and make high, ultimately add value and create better long-term relationships with their customers.
Yeah, we're dealing with a capacity issue, but there's that huge opportunity of the great wealth transfer. I mean, 84 trillion, right, being transferred to the younger generations here. So there's a great opportunity to really connect that money in motion. And I say that money in motion many times can land with that small and medium-sized business owner that's younger, right? That's trying to grow their business. But it's that advisor that's able to capture that, connect the dots, and really provide greater value and hopefully keep that that client when that money does move from the older generation to the younger generation.
Yeah, we talk a lot about we talk a lot about building a fence around your client, and I think that wealth management has this opportunity to really build a really high fence around their customers.
That moat,
And we talk a lot about pre-economic and post-economic, and you've got these business owners, and we all talk about the trillions of dollars that are going to change hands, and that's true. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to compete for the relationship that you've been nurturing for the last 25 years.
Right.
Because right now, all the high net worth advisors are sitting there saying, well, they're not liquid. I can prove that there is this wave of massive liquidity coming through business owners.
Yep.
And if you can build up additional AUM through them, mitigate risk with them, help them work towards their financial goals, you will be the only one that knows the transaction's coming. And so you don't want to compete with every other high net worth advisor because you've been nurturing this relationship, maybe not making a ton of money on it, but some, and doing well and protecting them to the point where they're about to create a liquidity event on a 10 or $15 million asset that you would kill for. But right now, nobody else knows it's there.
Well, that's the issue where I say we shouldn't be a servant to a service, Trevor. We should service the relationships. Why I trademarked Advise Roar is that return on that relationship. So if you look at that relationship, you can then pull the lever and bring in other subject matter experts really to provide other services to that client. That's why I say the accounting professional is uniquely positioned, because they're the ones that are capturing the business of those folks who don't have investable assets yet, but they have businesses that need to be advised upon. And that's that, that CAS offering where you can charge for that type of service, which eventually will turn into that AUM, that wealth management client.
Yeah, I think CAS is, obviously there's been a ton written about it, and we've seen some great CAS practices get started and really kind of thrive. Is, let's make this less about a compliance offering and more about what can I do looking through the windshield as opposed to the rearview mirror. And I think that presents an opportunity to say, okay, where are we going and why? How can we amplify the impact of that and create this holistic experience wherein the interaction between accounting and wealth is in lockstep and the ultimate value to the business owner is exponential.
Yeah. No, I agree here. Well, let's kind of talk about it because you touched on it briefly about the capacity issue. I know that's a big problem for the profession. Obviously, he's declining revenue per professional at a lot of firms here. Can you talk about maybe some of the strategies that you're seeing that can help really turn that trend around, Trevor?
Well, I think it's, right now, especially, we talk about AI a great deal, and it's this, amazing thing and this misconception all at the same time. And I think ultimately educating around that is a big part. And I think it's about looking at leveraging technology around, the areas that are the mundane, that can, the over and over and over again, and how can we ultimately amplify the humans. And I'll never forget, I heard one of the first 10 employees from OpenAI speak when I was at an AI CPA event. And he said, he got asked the question by the crowd. They said, what would, if you were teaching your kids right now based on this landscape, and as you look at the next 20, 30 years, what would you teach them? He said, I'd teach them to be inherently human. And I think about empathy. I think about, the experience that comes with, allowing me to present really complex and interesting solutions that will help people in the future, be the human. And so, for that, I think that there's a unique opportunity there where it might be a reimagining, it might be a repositioning, it might be a remarketing of what the profession is. But I think that's incredibly exciting if we're willing to, wrap our arms around it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I talk about in the book. I really say it's that human first approach where we have the ability to really understand what matters most to our clients, doing that deep discovery, helping them, do they want to IPO their business? Do they want a lifestyle business? Really understanding our client, back to that return on relationship and that human first approach. The AI is going to do a lot of the work, the accounting work, the tax work, I say the planning work, estate planning, financial planning, but it's going to be someone who wants to work with somebody who has a shared human experience that can guide them along the way to make decisions in a complex environment that they're going to feel comfortable, that they're willing to pay for those services to really optimize not only business, their personal finances, but really optimize their well-being.
Well, and I think as it moves towards that, that's where you see the move, and I would connect it to is the value-based pricing in the industry, right? Is that if you're adding value that is commensurate with the value you're returning, then ultimately it's not a fee, it's not an hourly cost. It's, look at what I'm doing to things that matter to you, your bottom line, and your financial future, right? I think, but that's a mindset shift on the delivery as much as it is on the pricing and packaging.
Yeah. And delivery is like what services are you delivering and what feeling are you delivering? That's why I always go back to this value proposition of not only tax savings, right? Helping people to grow their business, but also pairing that with a long-term financial plan, having the safety, security, knowing that their retirements, being taken into consideration that in case of any unforeseen circumstances, they have an estate plan, they have an exit plan for their business. It's really looking at this from a human first perspective and helping people get to where they want to go in life. That's, I think, the ultimate combination of both the tax savings in the here and now, but also helping them out for that long-term vision.
And the continuity, right? The continuity of all those things that you just referenced, a lot of very specific things that add a boatload of value. But the value is amplified if they're all connected, right? If the right arm knows what the left arm's doing, then ultimately they're better together.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about how you see these AI-driven tools and how you see AI really transforming the profession here. How are you all using this at AirValid to drive more value to the firms that you're working with?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways we look at AI. Like a big part of AI has been around data ingestion. So, data can take on a variety of different forms and can be incredibly messy at the best of times. So I think, ultimately we've used a lot of AI in terms of data categorization. So we ingest a lot of financial statements, obviously, as to go into our system. And those can take on a variety of different forms. They can take on, they can be PDFs, they can be Excel, they can be trial balances. Like they can come in a variety of different forms. And so the data ingestion kind of commonality has been a big difference for us, to the point where we've actually been able to uncap for our customers the number of times that they can use our platform because our cost is our cost. And so saying volume is really the winner. But that was a big kind of technological commitment on our end. And I got to be honest, AI made a huge difference in that instance. And then, the future state is ultimately we're ingesting a lot of data. And so now that we've got it, what can we now do with it? Can we begin to be a bit of a market influencer and understanding we've got certain niche industries where we have a lot of information. And right now we're getting to the point where we actually have some more data than some of the external data sources that we're currently aggregating. And so for us, being able to predict future state movements inside of certain industries, certain geographies, it's pretty exciting. But a lot of that modeling is something where AI just allows us to do it better, faster, stronger.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. All right. Is there anything that we didn't touch on, Trevor, that you wanted to share with our audience here?
I think at the end of the day, I hate the word because it gets overused, but I use it all the time. So I'm part of the problem. It's this holistic nature. Like holistic shouldn't be a bad word. I think it got, certain people, obviously it's in your book, but like the word holistic, I think is, we have to understand like what it was intended to be. And I think that ultimately like this ecosystem that exists, we got to remind ourselves, what do we do it for? And we do it to be the best at what we're doing. We look to add value to the business owners that we serve, the customers that we serve. But this shouldn't, a true solution is one where, for us, this orbit is the business owners at the middle, but everyone on the periphery that ultimately orbits the business owner should be better when someone else is doing their job well. And so the connected nature of all of this, I truly think is a big opportunity for accounting and wealth, and they shouldn't be separated in terms of mindset. I think that ultimately you've got someone that is has the keys and has the information. You've got others that can add value to it. And then I do think that the ball ultimately bounces back and forth.
Yeah, I would say for folks out there that they should look at the Interval software. You could pair that with the book, Holistic Guide to Wealth Management. And you should have a pretty good idea how you could better serve your clients. And I love what you're doing there, Trevor. It aligns well with what I'm doing in the book. I want to ask you this, kind of taking a step back, because I'm asking more and more people that are coming to the show about what's giving them meaning and purpose? What's driving Trevor, and not only his business, but his personal life?
As you can tell from this call, I'm relatively energetic, and a pretty passionate individual. And so for me, this is the product of a lived experience. Like when I was in M&A, I was the person that was giving bad news to these business owners.
Yeah.
And I will never forget, I was out west and I was meeting with a couple that thought that they were building a business that was worth $6-7 million. And frankly, they needed it to be worth that. And we got referred in there by a national accounting partner who had access to all of their data and had never really helped them understand what it actually was saying. And the wife cried and she said, how can it only be worth 1.7 million? Like literally $5 million less than what they needed it to be. She wasn't mad at me. She wasn't mad at our company and the way that we'd kind of analyzed the business. She said, how come everyone that had access to this didn't tell us? And the terrible answer was, well, you didn't ask. And so what I started that forever, like that is an indelible kind of image in my mind of saying there are, in North America alone, there's 35 million SMBs.
Yep.
They are the lifeblood of our respective economies.
Right.
How can we empower them to make better, healthier decisions and concurrently make sure that the advisors that are there to serve them get to win in that too, right? True solutions don't have a loser. And so that's what drives me. And that's where my passion comes from.
Yeah. I mean, you have 10,000 baby boomers retiring daily. I know from the book that only 30% of family-owned businesses transfer to the second generation, and really it's the reason why is there isn't proper exit planning. And so the data is there. This is like why something like Interval and other technologies out there, the data is there. It's just now for the advisor to be able to communicate that so they can effectively, hopefully transfer that business of value, right? And, make some money off of their life's work. So I'm fascinated by what you're doing over there. I know the technology is there. I think you should needs to get more folks' hands and have them, better serve their clients because they can help them not only grow their businesses but sell their business for a whole lot more money.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, I think that empowering these advisors that are right there, like they're looking for amazing things to talk about. They want to align interests, and their interests should be aligned, right? They should be making money when their customers are making money. And so the way we sell to the institutions.
Yeah.
Right. The institutions give our platform away to their business owners because they say, I know that you will build a better business and I know that I will have more to do when you have this in your hands. And so for me, that's what drives me, is creating kind of this mutually beneficial outcome. And I got to be honest, we got a great team behind us that is incredibly committed to that mission.
I love it. I love it. All right, Trevor, thank you so much for coming on the show. If anybody wants to learn more about Interval or get in touch with you, what's the best way to do so?
I'd go to www.inter-val.ai, or you can reach out directly to me through LinkedIn as well. We got a great team all across North America, and we're growing fast and look forward to chatting with some more people along the way.
Awesome. All right, I'll put all that I'll put all that in the show notes. Appreciate you coming on the show with me today, Trevor.
Thanks, Rory.
Thanks, buddy.
All opinions expressed by Rob Santos and Rory Henry on this website podcast interview are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Arrowroot Family Office LLC or their parent company or affiliates, and may have been previously disseminated on television, radio, internet, or another medium. You should not treat any opinion expressed by anyone as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinions. Past performance is not indicative of future results.